Dear students, warm greetings to all. Today we are going to see measures of central tendency. In this video, we are going to learn why a measure of central tendency is needed, what is a measure of central tendency, and how we are going to compute the measures of central tendencies. Before we go to what, let us see why it is needed. Measure of central tendency is an unavoidable part in all our day-to-day activities. Let us see few examples to understand it better. Here you see a mark sheet which describes marks of 10 students in 5 subjects with their average and grades. You have all completed your higher secondary just now, right? When someone asks what is your score, will you be comfortable in telling it as a number 450 or percentage 90 percentage? Even if you are comfortable in both the ways, the person who is hearing will be more comfortable if he hears it as a 90 percentage. Whereas if he hears it as 450, the next question arises in his mind whether it is for 500 or out of 600 or out of 1000. Whereas if you tell it as 90 percentage, immediately he can understand that your score is around somewhere 90 for 100 in all the subjects. Thus, a single word 90 percentage gives a clear picture about the marks in all subjects. Right? Here is another example. So this data gives the rainfall, average rainfall in Chennai in monsoon, 1400 millimeter. Right, okay. With this data, the government can predict and take precautionary measures. The rainfall, average rainfall will be around 1400 millimeter, maybe little less or little more, but with the data, the government can take precautionary measures to prevent disasters. It is also useful in the field of sports. Recently, we had IPL 2020. This is the data from that. Teams have scored 14.5 runs at average in last over of innings. Say, if this data is available before the finals, the teams participating in the final can have a game plan, can have a game strategy. This data gives the information that in the last over of the innings, the teams are scoring more runs. The runs are around 14 to 15. With this in mind, initial part of the game, they can plan and restrict the runs. So in this way, a measure of central tendency helps us in all our day-to-day activities. So now let us see what is a measure of central tendency. A measure of central tendency is a single value that attempts to describe a set of data by identifying the central position within that set of data. For example, 90 percentage. The single number 90 tells about your entire marks. All your marks, all the subject marks are around 90 roughly. Thus, a measure of central tendency is a single value that describes a set of data. The most common measure of central tendencies used are mean, median, and mode. Next, we will see how we are going to do this measure of central tendency. So, measure of central tendencies is broadly classified into two categories, mathematical average and positional average. Mathematical average is again classified into arithmetic mean, harmonic mean, and geometric mean. Positional average is further classified into median and mode. Once a data has been collected, a researcher has a huge deal of information. He or she needs to make sense of this information, analyze, interpret, and determine how to present it in a meaningful way. A measure of central tendency helps for it. Next, we will see the characteristics of a measure of central tendency. A good measure of central tendency should possess the following characteristic as far as possible. It should be easy to understand. It should be simple to compute. It should be based on all observation. It should be uniquely defined. It should be useful for further algebraic treatment. It should not be affected by extreme values. Thus, the measure of central tendency is of great use to us in our daily day-to-day life. In the next video, we will learn how to compute the different types of mean.